The goal is to make sure that we are... There it goes. Okay. The goal is to make sure that we identify our slope and our y-intercept first. Okay, that's what I always like to do first. Once you have graphed your y-intercept, you are then going to use the slope of the line to create more points. Remember, slope is rise over the run. Use a ruler to draw a line that extends through the points, placing an arrow on both ends. I'm not going to use a ruler today. I'm going to freehand it, and it's going to look ugly. Apologies. Okay? So, this is already in slope-intercept form, so all we have to do is identify what is my y-intercept and what is my slope. That's my only two rules that I have to do now. Okay? Now, the y-intercept in y equals mx plus b is our constant. In this example 1, what is our constant in this problem? 5. Okay? So my constant is 5. Now, once I know that y-intercept, I'm going to go to the graph, and I'm going to go to y of 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Since I have identified as 5 as my y-intercept, I'm going to scratch it out. Okay, the next thing is the slope. The slope is always the coefficient next to the variable. Okay, in this situation, is our number next to the variable x. Negative what? 1. Negative 1. Okay, so my slope is negative 1. Now, if I have any type of whole number or integer, and it needs to be a fraction to get rise over run, how do I put any of those numbers into fraction form? What do I put it over? It's a universal rule. I need to make that a fraction. What do I put in the denominator? 1. Boom. So now I have my rise and I have my run. Cool? Now here's what I like to do is I like to start at the y-intercept, and I'm going to go down 1 because negative rise, and then I'm going to go to the right 1 because a positive denominator. Boom. Do it again. Boom. Again. Boom. Again. Boom. Now I must also be able to work in the reverse. So if my original slope has me going down and to the right, what is the opposite direction? Up and left. So to get the other half of the graph, I'm going to go up and left. Then I said I'm not doing the ruler thing. I'm just going to do freehand for us here. And then we draw arrows on the ends, because the lines don't stop. They are continuous in this situation. Okay, so we are already in y equals mx plus b form. So I need to identify my b and my m, aka y-intercept and slope. Y-intercept is your constant. What's the constant in this problem? Negative 1. Good. Okay. What is my slope? Negative 3. Okay, I wrote these backwards, I just realized. I wrote those backwards. Okay, negative 3. Now, is this a fraction currently? No, I must make it a fraction by putting it over 1. So, follow the rules. I go down 3 over 1. Now, if I continued to go down 3, would I be still on the graph, or am I going off the graph? Going off the graph. So that tells me I'm not going to go to the right, this direction anymore. I'm now going to work in my opposite. So now I'm going to go up 3 over 1. Up 3 over 1. The minimum amount of dots that I have noticed work is 3 dots. If you can at least plot 3 points, then you're good. Now we connect the dots, and what do I put on the ends? Arrows, because it's continuous. Okay? Same situation, we need to identify our y-intercept and then our slope. Our y-intercept is the what? Starts with a C, rhymes with constant. Constant. What is the constant in this one? 2. So I go to y is 2. There you go. Y equals 2. What is the slope? 2/5. Is this in fraction form? Yes. So do I need to put it over 1? No. So I have my rise and I have my run. What is my rise? 2. And what's my run? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, if I continued going to the right, would I still be staying on the graph? No. So that tells me I need to go in what direction now? The other direction, which is the word opposite. So now, instead of going up 2, I'm going to go down 2. Instead of going to the right 5, I'm going to go to the left 5. You literally do the opposite. Check oppo in football terms. Now, I told you the minimum amount of dots that you need is 3. Do I have 3 dots? Sweet. So let's connect them. And what goes on the end of each line? Arrows, because our graph is what? Continuous. Woo! One more example, and then I'm going to have y'all do examples. Okay? What is my y-intercept? 3. Good. We're getting good at identifying that. 1, 2, 3. Okay. What is my slope? -1/4. Okay. Now, the whole fraction is -1/4. Okay. So what do I do? Which one do I determine as the negative? Okay. Is the numerator the negative or is the denominator negative? I will tell you one thing. You can choose, because it will still give you the same result. Coach Kimball, his preference is to make the numerator the negative and make the denominator the positive. That's just Coach Kimball's way of doing things. You do not have to do, you do not have to do those things, what Coach Kimball does. Okay? If you want to make the denominator negative, it's fine. Okay? But I'm going to go down 1 and I'm going to go over 4. All right? Down 1 over 4. Now, let's say, just for laughs and giggles, okay, if I did 1 over -4, well, that's here to there. So still, I'm still working correctly. What's great about this is that y'all now get to do question 5, 6, and 7 on your own. Then I have a random wheel generator, which will select random names. And that way I'm not looking around and just kind of guessing at people. I have our entire class here. And I'm going to spin the wheel of not ideal, because I know y'all don't want to volunteer. So the wheel of not ideal will be spun. And we'll see who has to do each example. 5, 6, and 7. Yes.
For number 8, the rise over run, why would I stick 3 dots on it?
Say what?
Why would I stick 3 dots on it?
3 is not the rise over run.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have the X with it.
Yeah. How would I put 3 dots? Extra dots.
Well, first of all, you still have, is that 5 or a 3?
That's right.
Ah, okay. Well, you start at -3, right? Okay. So we're going to go up 5 over 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 1. Okay. Then, well, 2 dots is the most you can get. I see what you were asking. Yes. Oh. Oh gosh. Freaking chair. So I go to 6, right? Okay. So I go up 2 over 1, I'd be off, right? So I work in the opposite. Down 2 over 1. Down 2 over 1. Ah, light bulb. So you start at -5, which is there. Okay, and then you're going to go down 3, run 2. Well, I can't go down 3, I'm off the graph, right? So I do the opposite. I go up 3 over 2. Up 3 over 2. You work in the opposite. So most of y'all are done. So let's see. The wheel of not ideal. Do. Tim!
Oh.
Tim is the first one. Yep. Let's go, Tim. Let's go, Tim. Let's go, Tim. Tim, you can take your paper up there with you. It's not a quiz. You can have your notes with you.
Which one you doing?
I'm on 5.
Why didn't you do the graph? That's literally the one thing you were supposed to do. That's the whole point. So you start at 6. There you go. Now, can you go up anymore? No. So where do you go now? The opposite. You go down now. So if I can't go up 2, I'm going to go down to... Tim, what's that need to be over? 2 over 2. No. What do I put a whole number over to get it as a fraction? 1. Yeah. 1. So that means I go down 2, over here 1. Because I can't go up. I'm off the graph, so I go opposite. Then I go down 2, back over 1. Because we have 2 over 1. Draw your line. Okay, wheel of not ideal. Victim number 2. Jack. Oh, that, look how close that was. Number 6. Perfect. Awesome. Victim number 3. Kinsey. Number 7. Good. Double good. Yes. 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 Perfect. Awesome. The y-intercept is 0. So we put our dot at 0, the origin. Then I go down 1 or down, wait. Oh. So I actually go down, Kinsey, we have it backwards here. So Kinsey, we would actually go down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1. And then I would go up 4 over 1. So you flip-flopped your rise and run. And here was I just saying yep, yep, and yep. Okay? Yes, you flip-flopped your rise and run, so this is where I should have, because our b is 0 and our slope is -4 over 1. -4 over 1. Okay. Sweet. Questions, comments, concerns?
No.
Awesome. Let's turn to the page. Yes, Ben?
On number 6, why is it like towards the left?
Say it again?
Like on number 6, you know how it's 3 over 2? Like, why'd you make the line like go towards the left?
Because it's negative. So that gives me a negative slope.
Oh, so the whole thing's negative?
The whole slope's negative. Whole thing's negative, right? Okay. So if the whole thing's negative, I have to go down and then over. So I have to be moving downwards as I read left to right. So, but I can't go down any further. I'm off the graph. So I work in the opposites. So instead of going down 3, right 2, I went up 3, left 2. Well, Jack did, not me. And then I go, I said it again. And then Jack goes up 3, left 2, because I couldn't go this direction. Okay, so I'd be off the graph. Now, if I drew my line this way, if my line went that way, that's a positive slope. But our slope is negative. So I must have a negative slope. Good question. All right, turn the page, last page. Corbin, do you mind going up there and erasing what we have up there? Thank you. All right, first problem. Now, I told you that there are, what was it, 4 steps? 4 steps to solving. Step number 1 is write the equation in slope-intercept form. Now, the first examples we just did, they already were in slope-intercept form. Okay, these are not. So we have to go back to what we learned last class, aka questions 11 and 12 on your quiz today, and we need to isolate the variable y. Very, very simple concept here. Move the x to the other side. 3y equals -1x minus 3. I'm putting the -1 there because I know I'm going to have to divide here. Okay, so divide by 3, divide 3 to literally everything. To where now you have y equals negative divided by positive is a negative. 1 divided by 3 is not a whole number, so just leave it as the fraction. And then negative divided by a positive is a negative. 3 divided by 3 is a 1. Now I have slope-intercept form, so I can identify my slope and my intercept. My intercept is the constant, -1. Always identify that first because I find it easier. Okay, it's always easier. Then I know since that is the constant, that's the y-intercept, I can now look at the only other numbers I have, which is -1/3. Now again, Coach Kimball likes to have the negative with the numerator. Okay, so I'm going to go down 1, and then I'm going to go over 3. Down 1, over 3. Okay, and now just to get the practice of going in the reverse. Okay, just to get the practice of going in the reverse. Then we connect our points. And there's your answer. So in order to graph a linear equation that's given to you in standard form, you need to convert it to what? Correct. Slope-intercept form. All right. So that's what I'm trying to get to. Y equals mx plus b. This is standard form. Let's get into slope-intercept form. So I got to get x to the other side. I do that by doing adding or subtracting. Now I have -1y equals -1x minus 5. The reason why I'm putting the 1s there is because I know I'm going to have to divide or get into fractions. So I put the 1 there just so I have it. Now, my goal is to get y by itself. I currently have a -1y. I want a positive 1y. So I will divide by -1 to everything. Where I get, now I have a positive y equals, what's a negative divided by a negative? Positive. 1 divided by 1 is just 1. Okay, and then negative divided by negative is a positive. 5 divided by 1 is 5. So our y-intercept is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, our slope is 1. But it's a whole number, so we put it over 1 in order to do the rise over run. That means I go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. Can work in the reverse because I'm no longer on the graph. Okay, how many dots do you really technically need? 3 on a good day. Connect your points. Bob's your uncle. Fanny's your auntie. Questions, comments, concerns? Still doing the same thing we've been doing. Identifying slope, identifying the y-intercept, just putting it onto the graph. And then 10 through 17 is just practicing what we learned last class and going from standard form to y equals mx plus b, which you just took a quiz over. Questions, comments, concerns? Okay, with that being